In 2025, it's time for the old version of you to meet the new version of you. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but the nice girl, she's gone. I'm not talking about kindness, because we know that kindness is powerful, but the over-accommodating, the people-pleasing, the giving away your peace to keep others comfortable, that's the version of you that's fading away. Today, I'm here to declare something over your life. It's your time. You don't have to shrink, dim your light, or settle for anything less than what you deserve. You've been nice for long enough, but now it's time to rise up, own your voice, and walk in your purpose with boldness. The world needs you to be unapologetic, fierce, and full of fire. No more shrinking for the comfort of others. No more putting your dreams on hold just to keep things easy. I'm telling you, 2025 is the year you start showing up for yourself fully and without apology. Are you ready? For too long, many of us have been taught to shrink ourselves, to make ourselves smaller in the presence of others so that they don't feel threatened or uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to believe that our power is something to be hidden, something to be downplayed, something to be apologized for. But the truth is, our power is not a liability. It is our greatest asset. It is the essence of who we are, and it is time to stop hiding it. It's time to own your power. When you walk into a room, you should own that space. You shouldn't feel the need to apologize for taking up space. There is a deep, inherent power within you that deserves to be seen, heard, and felt. This doesn't mean you need to be loud or boastful or arrogant. It simply means that you stand firm in who you are, with confidence, grace, and conviction. Your presence alone should command respect, not because you demand it from others, but because you understand your worth and refuse to shrink to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. The world has often told women especially that their power is too much. We've been labeled too emotional, too loud, too ambitious, and too strong. But the truth is, there is no such thing as being too much. The only thing that is too much is when we apologize for the very traits that make us unique, for the very traits that are a part of our strength. When you diminish your power, when you apologize for who you are, you rob the world of what you have to offer. You rob yourself of the opportunity to live at your fullest potential. Owning your power means acknowledging that you are worthy of standing tall in any room. It means walking through life with your head held high, knowing that you don't need anyone's permission to be great. There will be people who are intimidated by your strength, by your brilliance, by your vision, and that's okay. That's a reflection of their discomfort, not your inadequacy. Your power is a light that will either inspire others to rise or force them to confront the parts of themselves they've yet to face. But in either case, you must stay rooted in who you are, because you are not here to make others comfortable. You are here to fulfill your purpose, to live out your potential, and to bring your dreams to life. To own your power, you must stop apologizing for your success. We've been raised to believe that being too successful, too driven, too ambitious is somehow a flaw. You may have been taught to keep your achievements quiet, to downplay your accomplishments, to act as though they don't matter. But the truth is, your success is a testament to your hard work, your resilience, your sacrifice. It is a reflection of your unwavering commitment to your dreams and your purpose. You don't have to minimize your success to make someone else feel better. In fact, the more you shine, the more others will see what's possible for them too. You can be a beacon of light for others while still staying true to your own journey. Owning your power also means letting go of self-doubt. Doubt will always try to creep in, especially when you're on the verge of stepping into something greater. But you must understand that doubt is a liar. It will tell you that you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that you don't deserve to take up space. But when you own your power, you recognize that doubt is simply fear dressed in the clothes of uncertainty. You've come too far to let fear control your narrative. You've seen too much, experienced too much, fought too hard to let doubt dictate your next move. It's also important to remember that owning your power is not about comparing yourself to others. There will always be someone who seems more confident, more successful, or more powerful. But their journey is not your journey, and their success does not diminish your own. You are not in competition with anyone else. The only person you are in competition with is the version of yourself that used to shrink, that used to apologize, that used to play small. When you step into your full power, you are not just stepping into greatness for yourself, you are also creating a ripple effect that empowers others to do the same. You are teaching those around you that it's okay to take up space, to be unapologetic, to own your gifts and your talents. Owning your power means saying no when you need to. For too long, we've been conditioned to say yes to everything and everyone, often at the expense of our own well-being. But when you understand your worth and the power you carry, you learn that it's okay to say no to things that don't align with your vision or your value. You learn that your time, your energy, and your peace are sacred, and you don't have to give them away just to make others happy. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It is a declaration of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your boundaries and protecting your peace. And finally, owning your power is an ongoing practice. It's not a one-time event. It's a daily decision. Every day, you have to choose to show up as the person you know you're capable of becoming. Every day, you have to choose to rise above fear and doubt, to silence the inner critic that tells you you're not enough, to keep walking even when the path is unclear. Every day you have to remind yourself that your power is not dependent on anyone else's approval or validation. You are enough, and your power is not up for negotiation. The time has come for you to fully embrace who you are and the power you hold. The world needs the fullness of you, not the version of you that is afraid to stand tall. No more shrinking, no more hiding, no more apologizing for who you are. Step into your power and let it shine unapologetically. We live in a world that often doesn't respect boundaries. It's easy to become caught up in the demands of others, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or society as a whole. We're conditioned to be people pleasers, to accommodate others' needs before our own, to give and give until we're running on empty. But if you're ever going to rise into the fullness of who you were meant to be, you have to learn how to set boundaries and protect your peace. Setting boundaries is not about being rude, selfish, or unkind. It's about valuing yourself enough to create a space where you can thrive. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. They are a powerful way of saying, I am worthy of time, energy, and peace. When you set boundaries, you are teaching others how to treat you. You are showing the world that your needs, your time, and your emotional well-being are just as important as anyone else's. And most importantly, you are teaching yourself that you are not here to be a doormat or a convenience for others to use when it suits them. The truth is, when you don't set boundaries, you end up resenting others and yourself. You begin to feel drained, overwhelmed, and frustrated because you've given away so much of your energy to people and situations that don't honor or appreciate your worth. You may feel stuck, trapped, or like you're losing yourself in the process of trying to meet everyone else's needs. But when you set clear and firm boundaries, you take control of your life. You take ownership of your time, your energy, and your well-being. You create a space where you can show up as the best version of yourself, strong, focused, and grounded. It's easy to feel guilty when you first start setting boundaries. We've been taught that saying no or setting limits makes us bad people. But that's simply not true. In fact, the more you prioritize your boundaries, the more you are able to show up for others in a healthy, empowered way. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best if you're running on fumes. When you honor your own needs, you create space for others to thrive as well. Setting boundaries isn't about cutting people off or being unavailable. It's about creating balance in your life so that you can give with purpose and intention, not from a place of obligation or exhaustion. The key to setting boundaries is learning how to communicate them clearly and confidently. People can't respect what they don't know. You don't have to explain or justify your boundaries to anyone. Simply state what you need in a calm, direct, and firm way. Whether it's a work deadline, a family commitment, or a request from a friend, you have the right to say no when something doesn't align with your priorities or values. It's not selfish, it's self-care. And it's necessary if you're ever going to protect your peace and maintain your mental, emotional, and physical health. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is learning how to enforce them. Setting a boundary is one thing, but consistently upholding it is another. It's easy to slip back into old habits, to give in when someone pushes back or when you feel guilty. But when you don't enforce your boundaries, you send the message that your needs aren't really important. You teach others that they can disregard your limits without consequence. If someone continuously disrespects your boundaries, it's important to take action. You may need to distance yourself from that person or situation. You may need to reevaluate your relationship with them. Remember, your peace is worth protecting, and you can't afford to let anyone or anything take it from you. When you begin setting boundaries, you will likely encounter resistance. Some people will not like it. They may try to make you feel bad for saying no, or they may guilt trip you into changing your mind. But the key is to stay strong in your decision. People may be uncomfortable with your boundaries at first, but that's not your problem. You are not responsible for other people's discomfort or feelings. You are responsible for your own. When you set boundaries, you are teaching people how to treat you. And if they truly care about you, they will learn to respect them. One of the most difficult aspects of setting boundaries is the fear of conflict. Many of us avoid confrontation at all costs, thinking that if we just go along with what others want, we'll keep the peace. But that type of peace is false. It's the peace that comes at the expense of your own well-being. True peace is found when you can stand firm in your boundaries and know that you are honoring your needs. It's found when you can be at peace with your decisions, regardless of how others react. Conflict is not always a bad thing. In fact, conflict can be a healthy way of establishing respect and understanding. It can be a means of clarifying your limits and fostering deeper, more authentic connections with others. Another challenge that comes with setting boundaries is dealing with guilt. It's easy to feel guilty when you're saying no, especially if you've been a chronic people pleaser in the past. You may feel like you're letting someone down or being selfish, but here's the truth. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness, and you cannot be everything to everyone. You cannot be all things to all people, and trying to do so will leave you depleted and resentful. When you set boundaries, you are choosing yourself, and that is not something to feel guilty about. You are choosing to honor your own well-being, and in doing so, you are giving yourself the space to show up as your best self, not just for others, but for yourself too. Setting boundaries is a radical act of self-love. It is an act of recognizing your own worth and declaring that you deserve respect, peace, and time. It's about taking ownership of your life, your choices, and your energy. When you set boundaries, you're not only protecting yourself, you're teaching others how to love and respect you. You are saying, I am worthy of love, respect, and care, and I will not settle for anything less. Boldness is not something that comes naturally to everyone. It is a muscle that has to be built over time, one decision at a time. For many of us, boldness is intimidating. We fear judgment, failure, and rejection, which often causes us to play small and stay in our comfort zones. We hold back because we are unsure of how our actions will be perceived or how others will react to us stepping into our true power. But the truth is, boldness is the key to unlocking the life you were meant to live. If you are going to make an impact, change the trajectory of your life, and fulfill your purpose, you have to be willing to be bold. Being bold doesn't mean being reckless or impulsive. Boldness is about courageously stepping forward, even when you don't have all the answers, even when the path ahead feels uncertain, and even when you don't feel 100% ready. Boldness is about choosing to move in spite of the fear, in spite of the doubt, and in spite of what others may think. Boldness is the willingness to stand firm in who you are and what you believe, regardless of outside pressure to conform or shrink. It is the courage to say yes to your own vision, even when others question or doubt it. The first step in embracing boldness is understanding that fear is not a sign to back down, but a sign that you are about to do something significant. Every great endeavor, every leap of faith, every breakthrough moment is preceded by fear. Fear is not the enemy. It is the signal that you are stepping into uncharted territory. It's the feeling that arises when you are about to grow, when you are about to push beyond the limits you once thought you had. Boldness is learning how to move forward even with fear in tow. It's knowing that fear is not going to control you, but instead you will take the first step anyway. It's recognizing that the things worth achieving are not always easy, and they often come with an element of risk. If you want to grow, you must face that fear head on and keep going. The second key to boldness is knowing that your voice matters. For so long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that we should wait for permission before speaking up or sharing our opinions. But the truth is, your voice is powerful, your perspective is unique, and the world needs to hear it. Whether you're speaking to a crowd, leading a team, or simply having a conversation with a friend, your words hold weight. Boldness is not just about what you do. It's also about what you say. It's about expressing your thoughts and ideas without second guessing, without fear of judgment, and without holding back. When you step into boldness, you become unapologetically yourself. You are willing to share your vision, your dreams, your beliefs, and your heart without hesitation. It's about speaking with confidence even when you don't have all the answers, and standing firm in your right to take up space in any conversation. One of the most liberating aspects of boldness is the freedom it brings. When you choose to be bold, you release the need for validation from others. You stop relying on external approval or praise to determine your worth or your next steps. You learn to trust yourself, to follow your intuition, and to act in alignment with your inner truth. Boldness is the freedom to make decisions based on what feels right for you without constantly seeking affirmation from others. It's the courage to disappoint people when necessary, to say no when it's time to say no, and to stand in your truth even if it's uncomfortable. For too long, society has conditioned us to conform, to follow the crowd, and to be satisfied with mediocrity. But boldness requires you to break free from that mold. It's about having the courage to chase your dreams, even when they seem unrealistic to others. It's about doing what makes your heart come alive, regardless of how others perceive it. Boldness often requires you to take risks, to step into unfamiliar spaces, and to trust that the universe will catch you when you leap. You don't have to know all the answers or have everything figured out. Boldness is the willingness to start anyway, to take that first step even when you're unsure of the outcome. In order to be bold, you must also be willing to fail. Failure is an inevitable part of the journey to success. Boldness isn't about avoiding failure. It's about failing forward. It's about seeing failure not as a setback, but as a lesson, an opportunity for growth. When you embrace boldness, you stop fearing failure, and instead you start using it as fuel to keep going. The most successful people didn't get where they are by playing it safe. They got there by embracing failure as a necessary part of the process, by trying and failing and trying again, each time learning something new. Boldness is the ability to rise up after a fall, to learn from mistakes, and to continue moving forward with resilience and determination. Another critical component of boldness is self-belief. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Boldness begins with a deep conviction that you are worthy of success, happiness, and everything your heart desires. It's about knowing that you have everything inside of you to make your dreams a reality. This self-belief comes from embracing your strengths, acknowledging your talents, and trusting that you are enough just as you are. When you have self-belief, you are unstoppable. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, how many setbacks you face, or how many people doubt you. Your belief in yourself is the anchor that keeps you grounded and moving forward. Boldness also requires you to be comfortable with discomfort. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing things that make you nervous or uneasy. Being bold doesn't mean that you are fearless. It means that you have learned how to act in the face of fear. It means that you are willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of growth, for the sake of pushing yourself to new heights, and for the sake of stepping into the person you are destined to become. Growth never happens inside your comfort zone. Boldness takes you out of the familiar and into the realm of possibility, where transformation occurs. To live boldly is to choose to live intentionally with purpose and passion. It is to be willing to face challenges head on, knowing that each step is bringing you closer to the life you were meant to create. Boldness is a mindset, a decision to step into your power and to trust yourself along the way. It's not about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's about showing up with courage, conviction, and the belief that you are worthy of everything you desire. Boldness is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice, a way of living fully, unapologetically, and without fear. For so long, many of us have been conditioned to seek approval from others, often at the expense of our own desires and well-being. We've been taught to please people, to follow the rules, and to conform to the expectations of society, family, and friends. But the truth is, people-pleasing only leads to resentment, burnout, and an unfulfilled life. When you stop people-pleasing, you begin to reclaim your time, your energy, and most importantly, your peace. You take back control of your life and start making choices that are aligned with who you truly are, not who others want you to be. People-pleasing often stems from a deep-seated fear of rejection or a desire to be liked. For many, the idea of disappointing someone or facing conflict feels unbearable. The thought of saying no, setting boundaries, or making decisions that might upset others fills us with anxiety and guilt. But this is exactly why it's so important to break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. When we live our lives based on what others think or expect, we lose sight of our own needs and desires. We become so focused on keeping everyone around us happy that we forget to ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I need? What serves my highest good? When you stop people-pleasing, you start living authentically. You learn to trust yourself in your decisions without the need for constant validation. You stop relying on others' opinions to determine your self-worth. This doesn't mean that you become selfish or uncaring. It simply means that you recognize your own needs are just as important as anyone else's. You learn that you are worthy of love, respect, and consideration just as much as the next person. And you realize that taking care of yourself isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. When you make your well-being a priority, you give yourself the ability to show up fully in all areas of your life. Whether that's in your career, your relationships, or your personal goals. One of the first steps in breaking free from people-pleasing is learning how to say no. Saying no can be incredibly difficult, especially if you've spent years saying yes to everything and everyone. But the truth is, saying no is a form of self-respect. It's a way of protecting your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being. It doesn't make you a bad person. It simply means you are drawing a line and stating that you cannot take on more than you are capable of handling. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or priorities, you are saying no to yourself. And every time you say no, you are giving yourself the space to say yes to the things that truly matter. It's important to remember that you are not responsible for other people's happiness. Just because someone asks you for something doesn't mean you have to say yes. You have the right to prioritize your own needs and make decisions that serve your growth and well-being. People pleasers often fear letting others down, but the reality is that you can't make everyone happy no matter how hard you try. People will always have expectations, and no matter how much you do for them, there will be something else they want or need. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly giving to others without taking time to care for yourself, you will eventually become drained, resentful, and unhappy. When you stop people pleasing, you stop letting fear control your decisions. Fear of disappointing others, fear of conflict, fear of rejection. These are all powerful emotions that can drive us to make choices that aren't in our best interest. But living in fear is not living at all. It's living in a constant state of anxiety, second guessing your choices, and constantly wondering if you're making the right decision. When you learn to stop pleasing others, you stop letting fear dictate your actions. Instead, you start to make choices from a place of empowerment and self-trust. You learn that it's okay to disappoint people and that you don't need to sacrifice your happiness or well-being to avoid conflict or maintain a sense of approval. Stopping people-pleasing also means learning how to set clear boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining healthy relationships, but they are also necessary for protecting your peace. Without boundaries, you open yourself up to being overwhelmed by the demands of others. You allow people to take up space in your life without considering your own needs or desires. Boundaries are a way of saying, this is what I am willing to give, and this is where I draw the line. Boundaries protect your time, your energy, and your emotions. They give you the freedom to choose where to invest yourself, and they allow you to prioritize what truly matters. The more you establish and enforce boundaries, the more you begin to value your time and your well-being. You start to realize that your needs are not only valid, but essential. Letting go of people-pleasing also means learning to trust yourself. Many people-pleasers struggle with self-doubt because they constantly seek external validation. They second-guess their decisions and worry that they are making the wrong choice. But when you stop seeking approval from others, you start to trust your own judgment. You learn to listen to your intuition and make decisions that feel right for you. Trusting yourself means being okay with not having everyone's approval. It means knowing that you are capable of making decisions that align with your values and that you don't need anyone else's permission to move forward. The more you trust yourself, the more confident you become in your choices and the less reliant you are on others' opinions. It's also important to recognize that breaking free from people-pleasing isn't always easy, and it may take time. Old habits die hard, and you may find yourself slipping back into people-pleasing behavior, especially in situations where you feel pressure or guilt. But that doesn't mean you failed. It simply means you're human. The key is to be gentle with yourself, to recognize when you've slipped back into old patterns, and to consciously choose to stop the cycle. Every time you say no, set a boundary, or prioritize your own needs, you are taking a step toward reclaiming your power. When you stop people-pleasing, you begin to attract the right people into your life, people who respect your boundaries, value your time, and appreciate you for who you truly are. You no longer have to pretend to be someone you're not to gain approval. Instead, you can show up authentically, knowing that those who are meant to be in your life will accept you as you are. You start to surround yourself with people who encourage you to be your best self rather than people who take advantage of your willingness to please. Ultimately, when you stop people-pleasing, you stop living for others and start living for yourself. You begin to honor your own needs, desires, and dreams. You take back control of your time and your energy, and you stop letting fear or guilt dictate your action. The more you practice stopping people-pleasing, the more you'll realize that true happiness comes from living authentically, unapologetically, and with confidence. Fear has a way of sneaking into our lives when we least expect it. It shows up when we're about to make a big decision, when we're standing on the edge of something new, or when we're facing a challenge that feels too big to handle. Fear tries to convince us that we aren't capable, that we aren't ready, and that failure is just around the corner. It speaks in the language of doubt and insecurity, telling us to play it safe, stay small, and avoid risk. But here's the truth. Fear is not a sign that you should turn back. Fear is a sign that you're about to step into something powerful, something that will stretch you and grow you into the person you're meant to become. The key is not to let fear hold you back, but to rise above it and use it as fuel for your growth. When you face fear, you're not alone. Every successful person, every visionary, every change maker has encountered fear at some point. Fear doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how much money you make, how many degrees you have, or how many people admire you. Fear is a natural part of the human experience, and the most important thing is not to avoid it, but to learn how to move forward in spite of it. We all experience fear, but what makes the difference is how we choose to respond to it. Do we let it paralyze us, or do we choose to face it head on? One of the most powerful ways to rise above fear is to reframe it. Instead of viewing fear as a barrier that will stop you in your tracks, begin to see it as a signal. Fear is telling you that something important is at stake. It's telling you that you are on the verge of growth, and that growth can only come if you push through the discomfort. Fear is often a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone and entering new territory. It's like a neon sign saying, this is where the magic happens. When you learn to reframe fear in this way, it becomes less intimidating. You start to see it as a natural part of the process, not something that should stop you in your tracks. Rising above fear also means developing the ability to take action even when you don't feel ready. One of the most common reasons people don't take action is because they're waiting for the perfect moment. They wait until they have all the answers, until everything is lined up just right, until they feel 100% confident. But the truth is, you will never feel fully ready. There will always be uncertainty, there will always be risk, and there will always be questions. But growth doesn't happen when you wait for the perfect moment. It happens when you take action in spite of uncertainty. Action is the antidote to fear. The more you take action, the more you begin to build confidence, and the more you realize that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. Another important aspect of rising above fear is understanding that failure is a natural part of the journey. Fear often comes hand in hand with the possibility of failure. The fear of failure can paralyze us, making us hesitant to try new things or take risks. But the truth is, failure is not the end. It's just a stepping stone on the path to success. Every failure carries with it a lesson. The most successful people didn't get where they are by avoiding failure. They got there by learning from it. They understood that failure wasn't a reflection of their worth or ability, but an opportunity to course correct and try again. When you learn to embrace failure as part of the process, it loses its power to paralyze you. Instead of fearing failure, you can approach it as a necessary component of growth and achievement. In order to rise above fear, you also have to trust in your own abilities. Fear often feeds off of self-doubt, convincing you that you're not enough, that you don't have what it takes. But you have been equipped with everything you need to succeed. You have the skills, the intelligence, the resilience, and the heart to overcome whatever obstacles come your way. Fear will try to convince you otherwise, but you have to choose to trust in yourself. Trusting yourself means believing that you are capable of handling challenges, making decisions, and navigating the unknown. It means having confidence in your ability to adapt, learn, and grow. The more you trust yourself, the less power fear has over you. A powerful way to rise above fear is to focus on your why. When you're clear on your purpose and your goals, fear becomes less intimidating. Fear thrives in ambiguity, in uncertainty, and in lack of direction. But when you are rooted in a deep sense of purpose, fear loses its grip. Your why becomes the driving force that propels you forward, even when fear tries to hold you back. Knowing why you're doing something gives you the motivation to keep going when the road gets tough. It reminds you that your dreams and your vision are worth fighting for, and that the fear you're facing is just a temporary obstacle on the way to something greater. Another key to rising above fear is the power of community. Fear can often make us feel isolated, like we're the only one struggling or facing challenges. But the truth is, everyone experiences fear. No one is immune. The difference is that some people face fear with the support of others, while others try to fight it alone. When you surround yourself with a community of people who encourage you, uplift you, and hold you accountable, it becomes much easier to rise above fear. You don't have to face it alone. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, a coach, or a support group, having people who believe in you can help you overcome your own doubts and fears. It's also important to practice self-compassion when facing fear. Fear can trigger feelings of shame and inadequacy, especially when we're not able to overcome it immediately. But you have to remember that fear is part of the human experience. It's not something that makes you weak or incapable. It's something that everyone feels, and it doesn't define you. Be kind to yourself as you face fear. Don't beat yourself up for feeling afraid. Instead, acknowledge the fear and choose to move forward anyway. The more compassionate you are with yourself, the easier it becomes to rise above fear and take the necessary steps toward your goals. Rising above fear is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process. Fear will always show up at different stages of your life, but each time you face it and move through it, you become stronger, more resilient, and more confident in your abilities. Fear may never completely disappear, but you can learn to navigate it with grace and courage. Every time you rise above fear, you move closer to the person you are meant to be and closer to the life you were born to live. Fear does not have to control your destiny. You can choose to rise above it and take bold steps toward your dreams. There comes a point in every woman's life when she has to make a choice: to continue living in a way that serves others, or to step into the fullness of who she is meant to be. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to be quiet, to be accommodating, to stay small, and to keep the peace. We've been told that to be a good girl means to put everyone else's needs above our own, to be agreeable, to avoid confrontation, and to shrink back in the face of greatness. But let me tell you this: the time has come to break free from the shackles of that outdated narrative. The world doesn't need another nice girl. The world needs women who are unapologetically themselves, women who are bold, confident, and willing to take up space. The world needs women who are no longer afraid to show up, speak up, and stand up for what they believe in. For so long, we've been taught that being nice is the key to acceptance, love, and success. We've been told that if we just go along with what others want, if we keep the peace, if we don't rock the boat, things will work out. But that's a lie. Being nice doesn't necessarily bring happiness, fulfillment, or success. What it often leads to is exhaustion, resentment, and frustration. We give so much of ourselves to others that we lose sight of our own needs, desires, and dreams. We end up in situations that don't serve us, relationships that drain us, and careers that hold us back. We become so focused on being the nice girl that we forget who we are and what we're truly capable of. The first step in stepping into your power is understanding that being nice is not the same as being kind. Kindness comes from a place of love, generosity, and respect, but niceness often comes from a place of fear. When you're being nice, you're often trying to avoid conflict, avoid upsetting others, or avoid disappointing someone. You're putting the needs of others before your own, and in the process, you're compromising your own happiness, peace, and well-being. Kindness, on the other hand, is about doing what's right, even when it's difficult. It's about setting boundaries, standing firm in your values, and choosing to act with integrity, even when others may not approve. It's about loving yourself enough to prioritize your own well-being without feeling guilty about it. Being kind to yourself means learning to say no without guilt, to stand up for yourself without fear of rejection, and to take up space in a world that often wants women to shrink. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your peace are precious and that you have the right to protect them. You don't have to say yes to every request, attend every event, or fulfill every obligation. You don't have to put others' needs above your own to be loved or valued. When you choose to live with intention and integrity, when you choose to honor your own needs, you attract people into your life who respect and appreciate you for who you truly are. The truth is, we've been taught to be nice because it's easier. It's easier to be agreeable, to stay quiet, to let others make decisions for us. But being nice often means living in a state of fear and self-doubt. It means sacrificing our own desires and dreams for the sake of others. It means avoiding conflict, even when that conflict is necessary for growth and progress. It means settling for less than we deserve. But the moment you decide to stop being nice and start being true to yourself, everything changes. The moment you decide to stop shrinking, stop people-pleasing, and stop holding back, you step into your power. This doesn't mean that you have to be rude or aggressive. It simply means that you are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace or your well-being for the sake of others. You learn to set boundaries that honor your time and energy, to speak your truth without fear of judgment, and to make decisions that align with your goals and values. You stop seeking external validation and start trusting yourself. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for yourself. You stop holding back and start showing up as the full, powerful woman that you were born to be. The key to embracing your full potential is understanding that being nice is not the path to greatness. Success, fulfillment, and happiness come when you have the courage to stand up for yourself, to pursue your dreams without hesitation, and to take bold actions even in the face of fear. The world doesn't need another woman who plays it safe and hides in the background. The world needs women who are willing to show up as they are, speak their truth, and take risks. The world needs women who are unafraid to shine, to be seen, and to make a difference. When you stop being the nice girl and start embracing the fullness of who you are, you will begin to see the world differently. You will see opportunities where there were once obstacles. You will see your own strength and resilience, and you will learn that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. You will learn that your dreams are valid and that you have everything within you to make them a reality. You will stop waiting for permission and you will start taking action. You will stop holding back and you will begin to live boldly, authentically, and unapologetically. This shift is not always easy. It requires letting go of old patterns and beliefs, and it requires a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. But the rewards are worth it. When you stop being the nice girl, you start to live your life with intention and purpose. You become the woman you've always wanted to be, the woman who is unapologetic, unafraid, and unstoppable. You no longer shrink to fit into someone else's mold. You no longer silence your voice or dim your light for fear of making others uncomfortable. Instead, you rise into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. So if you are ready to stop being the nice girl in 2025, it's time to make that choice. It's time to step into your power, to set boundaries, to speak your truth, and to live unapologetically. The world needs you as you are. The world needs you to show up, shine, and take up space. Your dreams matter, your voice matters, and you matter. It's time to stop being nice and start being bold. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of life, working hard, checking off the to-do list, meeting everyone else's needs, and putting your own desires on the back burner. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that success is about constant effort, sacrifice, and going above and beyond for others. We've been taught that to be good means to give without hesitation, to give without expecting anything in return, and to serve others, even at the expense of ourselves. But here's the truth that needs to be heard. We cannot pour from an empty cup. If we're not intentional about filling ourselves up first, we'll find ourselves burnt out, overwhelmed, and disconnected from the very things that matter most to us. The foundation of true success, the kind that brings lasting happiness, fulfillment, and growth, lies in self-care and self-compassion. It's about learning how to prioritize yourself without feeling guilty, taking the time to recharge, and making choices that support your well-being and peace of mind. We've been conditioned to think that taking care of ourselves is a luxury, something we can indulge in only when everything else is in order. But the reality is, self-care isn't a luxury. Without it, you'll find yourself running on empty, chasing after goals that no longer bring you joy, and living a life that feels out of alignment with your true purpose. Self-care isn't just about spa days or treating yourself to a nice meal. It's about creating the space and time to reconnect with yourself, to check in with your heart, and to listen to your inner voice. It's about recognizing when you're giving too much and when you need to pull back and replenish. Self-care is about setting boundaries that protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. It's about knowing when to say no, when to say yes, and when to ask for help. It's about acknowledging that you are human, that you have limits, and that you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, especially by yourself.